That place I spent like 3 weeks on one piece of bread a day. Um, we had like 2 bottles of like 2 liter like water. We had to share that between like 22 of us at one point. I think the highest it got to in this like super tiny cell was probably like 30 people. No windows or anything, so it was like super hot.
Mm. And how was the feeling? How was everyone else there? Were they, I guess, scared shitless? Were they?
Yeah, so this place I was in, they would come in and take you out like at any time in the day or any time at night time. They'll just like beat like random people up, like they'll just beat the fuck out of them. So I was like mixed in. There was some guys from my unit in there, and then there was like civilians in there. And it was basically where they investigate people and stuff, like to find out if they are who they say they are, or if a civilian that's got any connection to any like fucking like Ukrainian organization. They find out stuff like that, or they just like if you speak Ukrainian and don't speak Russian, they'll just fucking fuck you up just for being that, and they'll just say you're a nationalist. So there was a shit ton of stuff they did in this place. Um, Luckily, at least I would say I got lucky in this sense, because when they found out the social media stuff, like I think it was the second or third day, the KGB guys came and they said like, "Yo, you're a famous blogger," and then they like showed me my Instagram and showed me my Twitter and stuff, and talking about how I was a propagandist for Ukraine, and how I told all these lies. And then they showed me some of the stuff I was making back in that last year, when I made some like slide posts about some of the commanders and stuff, which was pretty funny in hindsight, considering like the year previously I never realized it would go to like fucking being used against me.
Mm.
But at that point, like I think they realized, with being British and also just the social media side of it, they realized that they could probably just fucking exploit me because of it and just fucking use me for propaganda. Um, so thankfully, I didn't get any more beatings after that. They told me to make all these like phone calls to like government departments and stuff, and then obviously we had the first the first propagandist come. I think his name was Rudenko. I can't remember. He was like some Russian propagandist, and that was the famous. Well, wasn't famous, but it was the most like well known like photo where I've got like the big cut on my head and I'm just like completely like fucked up. Um, so like he did this interview with that guy and he was just like telling me all this stuff. Like every time there was this interview, there was always the guy who like stabbed and beat me like nearby. Um, so like so whenever I did stuff, like he wasn't that far away from me. Um, and also, as people already know, because because I've had this account where I like inform and like try to educate people. Like I know my stuff about the Ukrainian conflict. I know my stuff about the people involved, and then my stuff about all the Russian propaganda and stuff. So when these guys would come, they would ask me all these like ridiculous questions, like like how Ukraine is all this and that, and they would always like try to get an answer out of me. And I just like if you notice in the first video, like I was like talking like really slow, um, talking like in a weird like sort of way, like talking retarded English, if it makes sense. Because a lot of the stuff I was like trying to like think in, like I was like speaking slow, and I was like trying to think like slowly, like what would they want to hear, and at the same time I was trying to do it so it didn't come across where I seem like I'm actually saying it untruthfully. There's a lot of stuff that I said with my family before, like if I ever like scratch my nose like this, like it's one of my indicators. So I'm hoping like in the future there's going to be more prisoner exchanges so they can get released.
Yeah.
Because you know, even though my conditions were bad, like it was like nothing compared to like some of the conditions that the other guys are going in. Like, because like where I was with on my post there was like a couple of like different Ukrainians and like different like civilians and stuff. And there's also my battalion commander who was on the same post as I was. He got released with me. So like on our post we had our food was okay. You know, they fed us like 3 meals a day. I mean, it wasn't the best, but like, you're going to eat it regardless because you have to eat it. But there was like other like prisons where they literally would starve you, or like on one of the posts in this prison, they would basically give you like 30 seconds to eat, just from what I heard from one of the other prisoners. Or there was one post where you're not allowed to like sit down at all. You have to stand up the entire day, like from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Because in my prison we had like a strict regime, so you weren't allowed to like lay down. You couldn't go to sleep. You basically had to sit on this like tiny little stool, and sometimes you'd be in this like cramped like 2-person cell with like 4 or 5 people. So you'd have to just stand up like all day. You wouldn't leave this cell. Like the only time I ever left the cell was for like propaganda or when we were going to court. So, I mean, you weren't allowed to, they didn't take you to take to the shower, so you had to like use the sink to clean in whatever way you could. I mean, you had a shitty little toilet. It was basic, but like it wasn't by any like standard good.
Yeah.
And then you also had you could always hear people being tortured like every day in the week. So that's how you knew when like new people were arriving. One of the cells like next to me, like I heard someone get beat to death by one of the guards.
Right. So they killed them.
Yeah, pretty much. The guy literally was in like the prison custody for like 15 minutes, like on record. And then by the time he got to his cell, because when you leave the processing area, you have to crawl, and they put a bag on your head. Like every time you leave the cell, there's always a hood on your head. So this guy had crawled like just down the hallway. It's maybe like 100 meters, but like it took him like 20-25 minutes, because when you're crawling, they beat the fuck out of you as you crawl to your cell. So by the time he got to his cell, he was pretty fucked up, and then you could just hear like this guy telling him the rules and stuff. And I think the guy must have like just went unconscious, and then he like got pissed at him, said he was sleeping, and then just beat the fuck out of him again. And then a few like maybe 5 minutes later, like the guys who were in the cell room started banging and shouting for the guard to like get his attention that they need medical help. Obviously the guard was like off the post, and then like later on, like when they came, they got the medic, and then the medic came and just like pronounced he was dead.
Oh fuck. Was that like a common thing, or was that a one-off?
That was the one. I mean, in the prison there was a few other people that died because like that was related just to the way they handled them. But like in my cell block, that was like the only death as far as I was aware. But I know there was other deaths in the prison.
Yeah. Fucking hell.
Yeah, so pretty fucked up, but like not obviously not as bad as like the other prisons